Hey guys, on this Easter morning, I want to ask a really simple, yet I think thought-provoking question. The simple question is the life that we're living and the relationship that we have with Jesus such that the angels around us shine bright? Is it a relationship that causes the unseen around us to become seen? I want to go to John chapter 20. And we have the story of Easter morning. And Mary Magdalene has gone to the tomb. She's seen the stone rolled away. She goes and she tells the disciples. Peter and John come. They look inside. They see that it's empty and they run off. But Mary is left outside and she is heartbroken and she is crying. And I don't think she's going to leave until she has answers because she is so in love with Jesus. And she is the first one at the tomb. And let's go back just 48 hours. Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of Jesus, maybe one or two other women, and possibly John the disciple, but none of the other 12 disciples were the only ones at the cross. It was really a few women who were at the cross, Mary Magdalene being one of them. All the others had deserted Jesus as he predicted they would. Now she's the first at the tomb. Now she's alone outside the open grave, weeping because of her relationship with Jesus. She is so in love with him. And for some reason, in the middle of her weeping, maybe something catches her eye and she decides to look in the tomb. The same tomb that Peter and John had just looked in. She looks in the tomb and maybe she saw a light because when she looks in the tomb, she sees two angels, one sitting at the head and one at the foot of where Jesus' body had lain. Now, why didn't Peter and John see these angels? What was the purpose of these angels? The only thing it says is in verse 13, the angels ask her, "Dear woman, why are you crying?" She answers them, but then she turns around. I mean, we're done with the angels, and then she sees Jesus. She doesn't realize that she is at first. She thinks he's the gardener. But then he says her name, Mary. And she knows that she is known by her King, by her Savior, by her friend. Why did the angels reveal themselves to Mary and not Peter and John? I mean, Peter and John, they're the top disciples. They're certainly the first disciples at the tomb. John was possibly there at the cross. Why to Mary and not to them? I believe that if you look at the story we just told over the last 48 hours, Mary Magdalene at the cross, along with some other women. Mary Magdalene first to the tomb, the one Jesus had healed. The one who stays at the tomb and says, "I'm not leaving till I have answers. Where are they taking my Lord?" And she's weeping. And I believe the angels who were there all along see her broken heart. And the cloak that they've used to cover themselves from being seen cannot help but be broken as well. And their light shines through. And as Mary in her own way, even in her brokenness, even in her not understanding, even in the mystery of the moment for Mary, which if we're honest with ourselves, every moment with God is 99.999% a mystery. When we start to think we've got it all understood, that's when Jesus dies and rises from the dead and we go, "Whoa, I thought you were coming for this purpose, but no, you actually came for this." And Mary wasn't thinking either. Peter and John were hung up on, when are you bringing the kingdom? When do we overthrow Rome? When is the kingdom established right now here on earth? And Mary the whole time isn't thinking that or that. She's thinking, I've got everything I've ever longed for in the person of Jesus. All I need is Jesus. I don't care about the rest of the mystery. I just need him. When we try to figure out the mystery, we miss the person. When we try to figure out the mystery, we start to create religion and we miss out on the relationship. Mary is out there crying because her heart is so broken, because everything to her was relationship, and the angels see it and they're in awe. In 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 12, Peter describes, starting in verse 3, this relationship with God that Jesus has given us by his death and resurrection. He calls it salvation. He calls it a coming back into relationship with the one who made us, a being made whole. And it says at the end of verse 12, at the end of this section, this piece describing this relationship, this is all so wonderful. This is so incredible that even the angels are in awe. They are eagerly watching these things happen. And I believe those two angels had been there the whole time, the whole 48 hours. Maybe those were the two assigned to guard Jesus' body. They had cloaked themselves, they had hidden themselves as they do all around us. There was no reason for them to show up and become part of the story and be in the picture. All they said was, "Woman, dear woman, why are you crying? Our hearts are breaking for you. We're in awe of your relationship with Jesus. We couldn't help but worship out loud as you were worshiping in your brokenness, desiring this relationship." And that's the only thing they say. And then we move on from them. Maybe they were never meant to be in the story. But Mary's love for God calls them into the story. And the question for you and the question for me on this Easter Sunday is, do we have a love for God that calls all of creation into the story? Do we have a worshiping spirit, a heart that is breaking over and over for people around us, feeling God's love for them, breaking over and over for the Christ, for Jesus who died and rose for us, for us? Do we have a relationship with God that causes the unseen to become seen, because they've got to step in the story with us and worship as one voice and cry out to God? Do we have a relationship with Jesus like Mary did, where when things get really difficult, we are at the cross? We haven't deserted. And on the first morning that we can possibly be there, we are the first, before the sun even rises, to wake up and say, "I need you, God. I need deeper relationship with you, God." When we walk in that type of relationship with Jesus, all of creation will reveal itself with us and cry out with one heart and worship with one light, and lift up the one who made us, died for us, and rose from the dead.